Okay, so what we're going to do here is actually look at another use for the new Magic Mask in Resolve 16. You guys should be seeing my desktop here. And what I've done here is in the edit page on Resolve, and if I come down to the end of this timeline, I've got the shot of myself and a background. And so what you can do with the Magic Mask is not only use it for changing the brightness of a person apart from the background, is that once you've gone through and highlighted, done your stroke in this area and tracked them across, you can then come over here and look at your key channel. And as you can see, it also did a complete outline of myself. So what I can do is use this key signal to completely change the background now. So as you can see here, it goes through and I have changed this like so. And I'm going to, as you can see, there's the area that was defined by the Magic Mask. And then I can come over here, click on the three dots, turn off the show strokes, and let's turn off the background. And then what I've done is right mouse clicked within the node graph and add another alpha output. Now, in order to change the background, all I have to do is simply connect my alpha channel here. And now I've got my background changed with the other clip. Now what I can do, as you can see, there's kind of a very sharp transition here. So what we're going to do here is we can use the matte finesse controls here just to change the radius a little bit and just clean it up a little bit and soften it and things like this. And then we can come over and do a little denoising and things like that on it. And then it goes through, we'll play together both things like so. So this is a very quick way of doing it. Now, another thing too, with the Magic Mask, the algorithm is optimized for people, but if you want to include other things like arms, clothing, face, hair, legs, and torso and stuff like that, this can also be done as well. And so you can do that to exchange this forward. And then if you want to add to the defined area, then you can use the, or subtract, you can use the add and subtract eyedropper buttons here. And so this is my quick little demonstration of this. And I think I'll turn it back to you, Jeff.
Over in Madrid.
Here's my tip, especially if you're doing your first kind of color managed workflows and projects, especially when you're dealing for the first time with color managed workflows like ACES. I really recommend designing your workflow, planning ahead, and try a device of communicating with your client better what is going to be happening during the production. Especially with all these color managed workflows, if it's the first time you're working with it, it might also be the first time that some DOPs, directors, and producers are working in ACES for the first time as well, especially when it's being demanded by many of the streaming platforms that we're working with. So really lay it out. For example, what I'm showing you here is the workflow of a project I graded last year that actually had multiple deliverables. And that was one of the reasons why we used ACES. So you could see here that I'm going from a Sony Venice camera and trying to explain how we're going to work with the images from the client, how we are going to manage that information that it took them maybe 2 months to shoot with, really helped to manage expectations, manage the creativity behind it, and especially allowed us to actually deliver these 3 different deliverables that we were asked to do. One, obviously, as you can see here, we go from the Sony Venice with the ACES IDT inside ACES. Mystica is the product of choice that we used for this project. It was a very VFX heavy show, and actually we really wanted to share that information, color information with VFX via a LUT and some CDL information. And then obviously that allowed us to create from Mystica 3 different masters. the DCDM master, a Rec 709 master for SDR displays, and also an HDR master to P3 D65 1000 nits. Okay, and basically, if you are lucky enough to be involved at the beginning of the production, which it doesn't happen all the time, I would also recommend to start doing two tests where you are shooting these color charts and test cards with your DOP. So you could, especially for HDR, start to define and decide where you want to have your diffuse white. It is obviously in the latest recommendation, the diffuse white is set to 203 nits. But sometimes when we start working in HDR, you kind of get carried away with what you're seeing. And sometimes that threshold might be something that you are not realizing. And now I'm going to share my screen and see how also we could help ourselves, in this case, inside Mystica, to kind of never lose track of where our, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great. So basically what I'm doing here is I have 203 nits marker, okay, for my HDR grade here. And actually I could see here that if I wanted to, I actually could say, okay, where I want to have my white chip here is actually on the 203 marker. Okay, so that would actually help me to kind of have a consistent diffuse white position throughout my whole HDR production. But I do also recommend having also another creative threshold, which would be a 500 nit marker here. Although we are delivering for 1000 nit displays, and obviously everything, especially if we're using an ASUS workflow, we will be kind of limited to those 1000 nits. I do recommend setting peak brightness creative threshold as well. This will help you to, if we go to the next shot, for example, kind of define, okay, so if my diffuse white is around 203 nits, well, maybe here I could decide, okay, I really want the sky in the background to be actually closer to diffuse white. I really don't want it to go beyond the 203 nits. And I can also maybe decide, well, actually, I do want to desaturate it. I don't want to make it to look too blue. And this really will help to, inside an HDR production, keep a consistent look throughout. The reason is that in HDR, as we saw in the previous talk about HDR displays, the contrast ratios in the highlights are much more noticeable than in SDR. So when you start doing your first HDR shows, you're going to start realizing that, whoa, you see a lot more differences in the highlights than you normally do. So actually having peak brightness, creative peak brightness, I strongly recommend it, so we can actually start to maybe define how the whole flow of the HDR grade is going to be. Obviously, it's not something that you're going to do for the whole show. You actually can use this creatively. Like, for example, in the next shot, where obviously here now I have this practical light on set. And actually here I could define if I really want to go beyond those 500 nits. So I could use this creatively and start to start playing with the storytelling or whatever that I need to do in my grade. But at least in my scope, I have references where I know where my 203 diffuse white is and my 500 nits diffuse white is. And obviously here we're seeing this with light and how we're going beyond that, but also we can work with the saturation as well. So over here, say, okay, actually I do want that light to be white, but I don't want it to have a strong color tint, and just work with that in HDR. So kind of define and set where you want the diffuse white to be in your HDR production. define that with the DOP. And then I, again, strongly recommend also having peak brightness threshold. So you could control easily the color brightness throughout the production. That is my tip.
That's a phenomenal tip. I'm going to ask you to close your screen share.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of little things that I kind of wanted to do, kind of wanted to pick up. And I'm Jeff Greenberg. I'm on the East Coast of the US. I do a lot of education around post and in Resolve and in other places. And I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. And there's there was one that happened to me. I think this is one of the constants that we find is we all have different experiences that we come into these tools with. And regardless of your experience level, we find that there are these little things that you just didn't know was there. And I got to first give a big call out to my friend Warren Eagles. He threw this down and I just had forgotten entirely it was in Resolve, is when you're using the split screen capability, you're able to forget versions, forget things like versions in original and selected clips. You can go to selected LUTs and you could just take a series of LUTs that are there and just select them all. And suddenly you're getting them to show up and play through with a client. And Waz, I got to tell you, you dropped that out accidentally, like just as a casual thing. And I had forgotten how cool that split screen was.
Jeff, do you mean accidentally, like I made a mistake? That's probably right.
No, you threw it out like it was nothing. Like it was something that we should have just taken for granted that we all knew. And it's that sort of beauty that I think is in a lot of these software tools, is that we miss and forget these things are there. And sometimes we don't know about the little widgets, sir.
I'll just say, Jeff, going to talk for, sometimes you forget how little your client knows. And the client doesn't always know exactly how much you can do, what you can't do. Something like that just goes, oh, I hadn't maybe thought of it that way. So never, think that they know so much you can't show them different things, rightly or wrongly.
When you dropped that into the conversation that was going on, I just said, wow, I forgot that you could explore some of those spaces. So I got a couple things that I want to do, and then I got one that I'm going to try and end with. One of the little ones that I thought was brilliant, and they added this recently, is in your scopes, there's this switch here called Display Qualifier Focus. And once it's on, suddenly when you're using the qualifier, we are seeing exactly what pixels you're highlighting. And it's those little things like that. It's that really made a difference. One that I showed you 3 or 4 years ago at NAB was that when we were using a power window, that there was a key on the keyboard. Now, I know, Waz, when you teach, you're a little bit more keyboard driven versus the full board you have in front of you. It was Shift tilde turns this on and off as a key. And I'm a huge fan of that. And I was blown away that it was one of the ones you didn't know at the time. And you thought I picked it up from somebody else. This one's one of my favorites.
I love that one. I love that one, man. And I'll give you full credit to that now, even if I didn't at the time.
It's okay.
Jeff.
I want you to see, sir, that in this version of Resolve, you can type in qualifier right there. And in the viewer overlay, you can map any of these overlays, any of them, to the keyboard. And where that really just opens up a lot for me personally is I don't get the full board. I get a micro, I get a mini panel. And the idea that I can toggle, the ones for me that I map are qualifier and power window more than anything else, because I want to be able to bang through those and always have the one that I want. I don't care what key you put them on. And sort of a golden rule I have about teaching tools is the keys should always be accessible to what makes sense to you. And this qualifier is now mappable. Another one that I think that I like to map, just to give people an idea of that, if you didn't know, Option Shift or Alt Shift semicolon, and quote right next to the enter key lets you go from node to node on the keyboard. Now, of course, nowadays I do all this stuff in a Stream Deck, but every now and again I'm opening up a laptop and having to teach, having to work on something quickly.
Hey, Jeff, can I just stop?
Yes, sir.
Can I just stop for 1 second?
Yeah.
I've just managed to log on to Slido, and you can win a Mystica Boutique, and so far there's only 2 people logged in.
Shh, don't tell them. Those 2 people don't want you to tell anybody.
Oh, now a load of people are going in.
Oh.
I didn't want to.
Because I think I was one of the names, and I wanted to get that
was one of them.
Boutique.
I figured if no one else joined, I could win Mystica Boutique. But now everyone's into it. Remember, you can join on a separate device, folks, so you doesn't spoil looking at Jeff. Sorry, Jeff.
It's okay, my friend. Again, that was Alt Shift left in Alt Shift semicolon and quote. And one of the things that I like to map when I'm keyboard driven, since this, if you look at the semicolon and quote key on your keyboard, the key to the left, that's the letter L. Because if you're going to label your nodes, it's really nice to have it set to the keyboard as well. Nowadays, this is on my Stream Deck. I wanted to do 2 or 3 other little ones, but I think I wanted to do a big one. And I have to credit my friends over at Mixing Light, particularly Josh Peacock and my brother from another mother, Robbie Carmen. They're Mixing Light's sponsoring the event. And something that Robbie mentioned in a chat I was having with him is a little bit of a way to reverse engineer somebody's LUT. And I thought this was just a great method, and it's resolve specific. Possibly, Francisco, you can do this in Mystica. If you can, maybe at the breakout room, you'd show somebody. But what I'm going to do here, this is a screenshot from her. I'm going to take this under curves, and I'm going to remove the Lumamix. And then all I'm going to do is balance this out with curves. And as I'm balancing this out, and I'll probably take everything up and touch everything top and bottom a little bit. There we go. That's not bad for red. That's not bad for green. Yes, sir.
Hey, Jeff, you've done this before. I can see. Look.
I may have done this once or twice before.
You're pretty good here with these curves, eh? Look.
I'm not bad, Warren. Not bad. But I want to show you the really wild thing here in Resolve, which is these switches here, which most of us never touch. You would think they go from 0 to 100% of the red, green, and blue, but realistically, it's 50 to 100. In other words, if I set these all relatively to 50, it's going to remove the sort of the neutralization I've done. And if you take them to 0 Woz, they reverse it. So in reversing it, I've kind of double applied this to the effect. And that's what I'm going to go ahead here and save as a grade. I'm just going to grab that still. So what I now have as I go and I pick a shot here, and let me reset this, is I have that neutralization reversed. And because it's reversed, it's putting it back. And there's the original shot, and there's that her look. And if I go ahead here and I wipe across, you can see I get pretty close really quickly by taking the curves and by using this feature here, using this amount of percentage. And again, I took the Lumamix to 0, and I took each one, I lightly balanced out the shot, and then I went and saved that still. I thought it was such a great technique. And Josh Peacock, if you're out there, I owe you a beer. Carmen, I always owe you a drink. But this I thought was such a quick way to rebuild the LUT. Yes, sir.
I like that, Jeff. So basically any still, so if a client comes with a look and it's just a JPEG or they've taken a picture out of somewhere, you can use it with anything, yeah?
Yeah, and it's such a, it's one of those ones, my friend, if it was a snake, it would have bit me. You know, I just never dug into what I always thought it was a 0 to 100% adjustment there. And when it just was such a nice little piece. I want to do, let me see, I think I got one more. We're at 3:54. I'll do one more in less than a minute. I want to try and pick something that's uncommon. I got one that we might not normally know that's in there. There is an open effects, and I'll end with this. was, oh no, I know exactly what to end with, my friend. I was going to end with that. I'm going to end with something else. You know, I judge an editorial system purely on its ability to do one thing. Let me go ahead here and get rid of this section. I'm going to put a transition here. And, you know, you would think it's a dissolve or something like that. And the dissolves and the you know, I know we're colorists but, you know, we often get asked to come in and do some work into editorial. The blur dissolve is great. I'm always a big believer in the editorial side of giving a really good ease in and out. And a lot of the editors in the world, you know, their minds are blown that you can get an ease in and ease out. But I think what really truly makes an editorial system is the last thing I want to end up here with, which is, oh, that went in, where is it? I just saw it. Yeah, that's right. It's right here, is that you have to have a heart wipe. If you don't have a heart wipe, it's not a real editorial system.
Awesome.
And Resolve has a heart wipe in there. And with that, my friend, I'm going to stop the tips. I hope you found something there useful. I give you three little ones and then a bigger one with the thanks to my friends at Mixing Light. And where does that bring us, my friend?
That's very good, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks, Paco. Thanks, Blake.
You're welcome.
Adrian's going to say some words, I think. Hey, Adrian.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be
How
here.
you doing, buddy? Where are you?
Good, really good. I'm in Madrid right now.
In your kitchen, by the looks of things.
No, I'm in my home.
Okay.
I have a small apartment, so
Well,
basically
most-
the whole apartment is the house, the entire house.
Most people do. I'm amazed the amount of work's got done in lockdowns in people's houses with kids and dogs and animals and stuff going on everywhere. Yeah. All right, cool, man. What's new?
All right, so let me share just for a few secs, a couple of slides that I have in here. I would like to use this small amount of time of 5 minutes just to present our new educational edition for Mystica Boutique. This is a free of charge version of Mystica Boutique with all the functionalities that you can expect from the full version of Mystica, and with the only limitation in the render part is limited to compressed formats like H.264, H.265, ProRes Proxy, and ProRes LT. This version doesn't have any kind of time limitation. It works in an annual subscription, but every year it will renew automatically, again, free of charge. So it's a fully functional version for those that has interest in Mystica and they want to learn something about Mystica and Mystica Boutique in this specific case and Mystica technology in general. At the same time, I would like to say and announce, like an anticipate announcement, that Mystica Boutique Educational Edition is as well an anticipate access to the next version. There you go. The next version of Mystica, Mystica 10.2. This is the upcoming version right now. For those that download the educational version, they will have access to the beta version of Mystica 10.2. In the following days, we will make the final release. But I would like to share some of the most important new features of Mystica Boutique. We have created a new color GUI for Dolby Vision. We're working in implementing Dolby Vision 4. It's already implemented, but pending on certification. So that's the reason why I haven't put in here Dolby Vision 4, but it's already there with a new color GUI. We have redesigned and make quite a lot of work on the color panels part, so we can create a huge improvement from the precision panels with a new interface and with a new Dolby Vision mode. We have improved as well the mapping for the tangent panels, including as well Dolby Vision mode. Thanks to our friends from Blackmagic, we have integrated the Blackmagic Color Science Generation 5, the latest version of the color science from Blackmagic in our color management. So now if you work with Blackmagic RAW cameras, you will be able to continue the job using the color space and gamma curve from Blackmagic. At the same time, we have updated and reorganized our Unicolor to make the job and the workflow easier for the user. And then a couple of smaller features, but really important as well, are that we have improved the shape management in the GUI to have a quicker access to an animation and the tracking, and as well from the color panel. Now it's much faster to work with shapes from in the panels. And for those that use VR content or VR footage, we have included a new import method for this kind of footage, where you can just load all your footage in a vertical stack to make the stitch, and then make the rest of the finishing in Mystica Boutique. So summarizing, a new product for Mystica Boutique, the educational edition, and anticipate access thanks to this version to the new upcoming version of Mystica 10.2. So that's all from my part. Thank you very much for this time to share these two announcements.
Thanks, buddy.
I just went registered, Warren. I just went registered for it. I don't want to download in the middle of Zoom, but I want you to know, Adrian, I'm going to start playing with this starting tomorrow. I didn't. How long has the educational version been available like that?
We released it yesterday. It's really, really new. Yeah.
I can't believe I'm so late to the game.
So yeah, it's already there for everyone. It's a project that we want to release.
Oh, 74. We can do better than that, can't we?
I'm going to be 75 here in a second.
Oh, Jeff, are you sure you... Now, bad news for Mr. Toby Tompkins. He can't win this prize, Toby, but we don't mind you playing the game. You can only win one prize here, folks. And probably best that sponsors don't win sponsors' prizes. It's a fun thing, but hey, we're giving away Mystica Boutique here. So please go to Slido if you haven't already. The QR code works really well. You use it on your phone, your iPad, your other device, so you don't miss anything that anyone's talking about. We can get to 100. Hey, Jeff.
We're at 94 right now, 96.
Come on, there's
97. We're almost there.
156 people on Zoom, so one more to make it spin. There we go.
Let's play a game. Start that quiz. Here we go. Official ProRes can be rendered on Mystica on the following: Windows, Mac, Linux, all of the above.
What do you think, Jeff? What do you think? You got an idea, Jeff?
I think it works on the Amiga. The Amiga, of course. Somewhere out there, Joey is laughing at the fact that I brought up an Amiga.
Yeah, I think so.
And our results coming in 3, 2, 1. The results, the correct answer happens to be all
that's
of
yeah,
the
that's
above.
cool.
That's
a nice
really,
feature.
Yeah, well, particularly, now suddenly you can pick whichever hardware you want to be most comfortable with. And even Linux, where you're really getting your dime for the dollar, works wonderful. Let's see what that leaderboard looks like. Wow, we've got 4. Joseph, Augusto, Jacob, Dominic in the lead. Let's see what that next question is. Mystica was used to color what top shelf TV drama? Oh, I don't know. The Alienist, Yellowstone, The Crown, Mandalorian.
Great question.
It is a great question.
I love that we always learn something in the quizzes.
Well, hopefully we do, Kevin, eh? Because it's all about learning something, isn't it?
Absolutely. Something
Good
fun.
quiz questions. Quiz questions. Do that.
Yeah.
2 seconds left here.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right. There's a lot of people who thought The Alienist was it. Okay. But the correct answer happens to have been The Alienist. All right. Let's see what our leaderboard is. Oh, we have 4 people. Going to have to break out the wheel, I think, Warren.
Yeah.
Unlucky, Dario. That was close.
Yeah, that was close.
I will bring this up behind me in just 1 second.
While we set up the wheel, can I remind everyone that with iColorist, we actually did Mystica Essentials 4 webinars. This was in February. You can find them in the iColorist YouTube channel if you want to download the new Mystica educational version and play with it. There is a sample project there to play with, and you can build a whole online grade, a denoise, add titles, graphics, basically learn what an online session would be inside Mystica.
Here we go. We're going to spin the wheel. The wheel is spinning.
Have you
And
shared,
our
Jeff?
winner, Dimitri. It's over my shoulder. Dimitri's our winner.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Well done, Dimitri.